Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. We're all aflutter with excitement over here in Nairobi with the President of the United States expected imminently. Macro thoughts. I start with Jamie at Reuters, who says who quotes Bridgewater on China, who say, "We are now at the point of maximum uncertainty," and I think that's exactly right. I wrote about that a little while ago, using the quote, neo-totalitarian Xi Jinping. And I think they threw everything at it, but I'm not so sure what they can throw at it next time. Home thoughts. This was a photograph I took of the elephants at sunset in Lewa. We were staying at the Sirikoi Lodge, let me put that up. It was such a pretty sight. And then ABC tweeted, "Long lost Dr. Seuss book released today was discovered in a box by his widow." That made me go back to one of his quotes, "You're off to great places, today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way." And I also took this photograph of the orphan rhinos at Lewa. They're escorted 24/7 by the guards, and they were really fun to hang around with. I like to be tickled. It's not about what it is, it's about what it can become. Dr. Seuss. Political reflections. Al Jazeera tweeted an image of this 1,370-year-old Quran manuscript found in the UK. Pretty remarkable, and it'll be interesting to see what it says, I think, won't it? The least peaceful countries in the world, Central African countries, Sudan, South Sudan, make it to the bottom 10, as does the Central African Republic, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, all of which experienced civil wars and unrest in recent years. And I'll put up a photograph of the Blue Lagoon, which is one of Iceland's most popular tourist destinations. And Iceland is the most peaceful country in the world. Ragnar will be pleased. Currency markets, the euro is at 109.88, dollar index has slipped closer to 97, dollar yen 123.82, Swiss franc, when I checked, was at 0.9592, the pound, that's slipped 155.96. Weak retail sales. Aussie, the Antipodean currencies have been strong. The Aussie is at 0.7403. The Kiwis also bounced big at 66.84. I'll come to that in a minute. Indian rupee 63.675. South Korean won, that's been on a softening track, 1163.09. Brazil real 322.34, Egyptian pound 783.31, and the rand 1240.48. Rate hike is expected, I think, in South Africa, notwithstanding a soft inflation read. Dollar index, let me put up a 3-month chart. We're still going 100 and 110. A little bit of, I think, short covering going on here. For example, on the euro, a little bit positive news coming out of Greece, but it doesn't really make much difference in my view. Holger tweeted, "The US yield curve flattens as yields of shorter dated US Treasuries rise on Fed rate outlook." And I'll give you can see the slope and the shape of the yield curve in that image he's tweeted. Euro dollar, we got over 110 momentarily, actually twice. I think you continue to sell rallies. Anything above 110 is going to be pretty good. Dollar Canada, when I came in, was at around 130.30, and we're now at 129.78. I think that's going to 140 and then 150. I'll put up a chart. And the New Zealand dollar, notwithstanding a pretty strong bounce today, up to 66.90 even, I think targets 0.50 eventually. I think that's quite a dramatic call on my part. Commodity markets, in November I said the commodity super cycle is dead in the water, and I said then that the unwinding of the super cycle will take gold below $1,000 an ounce. Gold has popped higher, over 1,100 today. it had fallen for 10 straight days in its longest losing streak since 1996 through now. And then I saw a quote from Mark Bristow, CEO of Randgold, who said another $50 off the gold price in this industry is toast. That was when the price was $1,150, and we're now practically exactly below $50 below it. I'll put up a 3-month chart of gold. I think it remains a sell, but obviously you've got to wait for the right opportunity. This might well prove one if it bounces a little bit further. Going back to oil, you will recall severally, but the last time I wrote about it was on the 2nd of June. When I said that I expect the price of WTI, that's West Texas Intermediate crude oil, to head back to $50. And there is a reasonable chance we will still print fresh 2015 lows below $44 a barrel. So I said, yes, it's a dead cat bounce because we had quite a sharp bounce. And I expect the price of WTI, which was trading at $60 a barrel when I was writing this, that was June, beginning of June, to go back to 50. We're below 50 now, and I think we're going to print fresh 2015 lows below $44 a barrel. I'll put Holger again tweeted a nice image of the US oil price ending below 50 for the first time since April the 2nd. I'll also put up a 3-month chart, and I think $44 and then 40 on this contract. And look at this chart of the correlation between copper and the Shanghai index. Again, Holger. Moving to emerging markets, terror alarm turns Turkey from best to worst in emerging markets. Attacks close to the Syrian border have turned Turkey from the best to the worst performing emerging market. The lira and 2-year bonds tumbled the most among the 24 developing markets this week as a suicide bomb, and the deaths of 2 policemen fueled security concerns. Before Monday's blast, the currency was the biggest gainer in emerging economies, as 2-year yields fell 55 basis points since Turkey's June the 7th election. The turn in sentiment reflects the risk that Turkey will be sucked into neighbouring Syria's 4-year civil war while it's seeking to form a government after the inconclusive elections. After losing more than 2% this week to 270 per dollar, the lira will reach 280, which would be a closing day record. According to London Capital Group, I think it's going to 3. And I think the big game changer is, I'll get to it in a second, the re-emergence of geopolitical tension has diminished risk appetite for lira assets. Hot money won't stay. And, Erdogan was very much the biter. He laid that tripwire for Obama and Syria. He's been funneling all sorts across his border, some of them to fight the Kurds, others to fight at Bashar. And I conclude by saying the biter, Erdogan, take big bites out of everyone, might get bit. President Nkurunziza, there was always little doubt he was going to win the vote, and he has. And he's proposing a government of national unity. His spokesman said, a government of national unity is not a problem for Pierre Nkurunziza. We are ready to do so, Willy Yamatwe, advisor to President Pierre Nkurunziza, told Reuters. African bond rush goes on despite risks to borrowers. And this is talking about Eurobond issuance, although the prices have moved quite dramatically, basically saying that African issuers are still coming to the market to issue. But we have been flagging concerns over rising debt stocks, over sizable fiscal deficits, over current account deficits, and the trajectory of sovereign ratings has been downwards. That's S&P. They've got a point. It is something that has to be watched. Desperate Zimbabwean women flock to cross-border trade despite risks. Again, Reuters, interesting article actually. Zimbabwe's job market has shrunk on the back of an economy that analysts say will stagnate or fall into recession this year. The economy slumped by 45% during the 1998 to 2008 period, prompting factory closures, huge unemployment, and growing food shortages. Some 65% of Zimbabwe's 14 million people now rely on the informal sector to survive, according to the African Development Bank. Now more than 3 million Zimbabweans, most of whom are women, make a living buying goods in neighbouring South Africa and reselling them across the region, according to Killer Zivlu, the head of the Zimbabwean Cross-Border Traders Association. More than 80% of Zimbabweans are unemployed, according to the World Bank, although the government puts the figure at 11%. More than 10 companies have shut down each month over the past 2 years, according to the country's National Social Security Authority. Factories lie idle in the once prosperous southern African country's industrial heartlands. In a rare criticism, top Zimbabwe officials stated the obvious and says Mugabe laws have been keeping investors away. The 2007 indigenization law compels foreign firms to cede 51% of shares to local partners, in a move that Mugabe said would benefit Zimbabwe's majority black population, disadvantaged by colonial rule. But Desiree Sibanda, the Secretary for Economic Planning and Investment Promotion, made a rare criticism of the policy, saying a new wave of potential foreign investors had shunned Zimbabwe due to the laws. The first problem they've raised is the Indigenization and Economic Empowerment Act provisions, which they perceive as a disincentive. They are saying it denies the foreign investor a controlling stake in their investment. Sibanda said Zimbabwe had received more than 40 foreign delegations scouting for investment opportunities, but they all raised concern over the regulations. Thula Gladwin tweeted, "Hello Harare," in a rather nice photograph which I shall post. South African all-share got creamed yesterday, down 1.75%, but it remains 4.43% higher year-to-date. Dollar rand, and I haven't checked it lately, but last time it was trading around the 12.41 level, and my target is 14. Egyptian stock market down 8.23% year-to-date, but rallied 0.47% yesterday. Nigerian all shares down 23.63% over 12 months. Sentiment was very bullish on the peaceful handover, but then it sort of eroded as the markets waited for Buhari to make his move. Coming to Kenya, let me put up a photograph of Barack Obama because that's all anyone's talking about. And I remember asking Bob Godek, is it a big deal? And he said, doesn't get bigger than this. Nick Cheeseman of Oxford's African Studies Centre says, I expect him to take a softly approach. I suspect that much harder things will be said behind closed doors. I think that's correct. There is no change to President Obama's Kenya itinerary despite a security breach. This is the White House. Kenya Airways sent a notice through its public relations agency on Tuesday, giving the 40 to 50 minute windows for Air Force One's landing in Nairobi on Friday and departure on Sunday. Information considered not for public disclosure for security reasons. A bit of a faux pas. Kenya shilling, that's now below, it's trading around 100.3. That's a pretty strong response we've seen on the shilling, and a good one. The Nairobi all shares down 4.41% this year, and this is a new 2015 closing low from yesterday. NSE 20 fell 0.58% yesterday and is down 10.44% year to date and at a fresh 2015 low. If you haven't seen the Mind Speak with Bob Godek, please take a look. Links are on Rich Wrap-Ups. And finally, KRA has refused to renew Karuchi Brewery's excise tax license for the new financial year, which is an interesting decision. They've been in the wars of late. I haven't spoken about this sort of war on alcoholism that we've had, that the president launched. But quite a few legitimate businesses have been caught up in the crossfire. Once again, thank you for stopping by.